to hear that. I think part of it is that they're both such difficult people.
Yeah.
That dealing with them is so challenging.
Right.
And the way they do it, I think that's why people don't push in.
Yes, I think you're right. Absolutely. Hello, my dear.
Hello, I'm home. As you obviously can tell.
Where have you been? I know that you took him home, but where does he live?
In Glendale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I did my round tripper to Glendale. Fortunately, there's not a lot of traffic.
No, I would think not.
And weren't even too many drunks. I only saw...
What does he do, Barry?
What's that?
What does Richard do?
What do I do?
No, what does
Richard.
he do? What does
Richard?
Richard do?
He is retired. He stays home and collects his Social Security check.
What did he do before what did he retire from?
He was the CEO of Banner Health. And he was setting them up in Mexico and other things, working with unions and what have you, and ultimately he was gone, it was sold. And there's still some Banner Health operation in Arizona. He was, by training and education, a chiropractor, but he never practiced.
Huh.
And so he's very, very knowledgeable in a lot of the medical areas. And fortunately, we are friends because I keep kicking him about issues that he's involved with, like smoking too much. Okay, and of course, there's also my daughter-in-law died at an early age, and I was my mother's caregiver for 14 years, and now it's Richard, 14 years, and now you want to. He was asking me about Trish, the blind woman that he was at the Woman of the World 2 years ago. Well, people were trying to get him involved with her. She was 12 days in Adventist for a hold on, I said, Richard, you just got out of your mother. 14 years of her caregiver, changing her diapers, everything like this. Okay? You get out of the caregiver business. You need to heal from that. And all you're doing is transferring from one to the other. And
Yeah.
so I just tell him straight, exactly, because he asked me.
And you tell him.
And I tell it straight. I don't, and there was no need to, yeah.
It is his time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He really, he wants to be liked, and he's taken that role of caregiver and caretaker, and
It's a tough one.
oh yeah.
Oh.
And especially if he's been doing it for 14 years.
Yeah.
He had no life.
Oh my gosh.
And now he's getting out. He doesn't drive. He's got very bad eyesight. They've been talking about eye surgery. He was on the list for heart transplant.
Oh my goodness.
And he said, well, it's O negative blood is very difficult to find a donor for. So he took himself off the list. And then I said, Richard, you've got a little grandson, right? Yeah, don't you really get a thrill when Josh comes up with a baby? He said, you ain't Ian. Okay, Ian, right? See, that's what he does. I said, he said to me, a decade with my mother. I said, you spent a decade. He says, no, I didn't. I said, how much more was it? You have to know how he talks. It was 14 years. Okay, so I said, now, you're smoking. What killed your daughter-in-law? Oh, that was it. I had to smoke because of the pain. Hey, bullshit. It was just another excuse. Well, I like to smoke. Well, he stopped drinking many years ago. He was an alcoholic, and I guess by Pauline's definition, you're always an alcoholic, right?
If you're an addict, you're an addict.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But he doesn't drink. So instead of that one, there's stress, I need to smoke. And I put it to him the other day, I said, look, all you're getting is a Social Security check, right? Yeah. And I said, and you're smoking, what, 3 packs a week? I said, what's that, $15 a week? $60 a month? Why don't you save that for your grandson?
Ooh. Barry, you're a good friend.
Yeah, really.
So, I just, to me,
More coffee?
Oh, I'm perfect.
the kid glove stuff,
would.
Judith, the kid glove stuff for me is just bullshit. Let's get right down to it and see what the problem is. And address it.
And
You
he
wanna address
didn't
it?
put himself back on the list for a heart transplant?
No, he said he's got a pacemaker.
Yeah, he just got a pacemaker. And that was because we pushed him to it.
Oh my gosh.
So he's not a well man.
No? What do you say? 5 surgeries this year.
Yeah, so here he's got this heart condition, and when I would be driving around Glendale, a couple of years ago, I'd see him coming out of McDonald's. It's like, McDonald's? And you got a bad heart?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know. It's,
Oh. What's the matter? Is it not bad enough?
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
It's just like the smoking. As Richard, you've been smoking. Have not, it's a bullshit. You better have had your clothes washed. Smoke is smoke.
Yeah. It doesn't go away.
That's right.
Mm-mm.
So I said, you can bullshit someone else, but not me.
Oh.
And he had an absolutely delightful time. I
Good.
said, you had some really nice people. He says, I met some really neat people. He was just stoked.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, Martha engaged him.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a die-hard liberal. I mean, she's in her late 70s. She'll stand on the corner and hold a sign for Adam Schiff or for
Wow.
Obama or whatever, and she has and she does.
And she still does.
And she still does. Absolutely.
Wow.
And once upon a time, Richard was a real die-hard Republican. But I've had some of
Really?
my very die-hard Republican friends are now complaining about Bush. Before Bush could do no wrong.
Go, Barry.
Yeah.
One at a time.
I'll tell you, it's really something.
Oh, I love hearing this.
Yeah, Richard's not too bad.
Yeah, he's eased up considerably. And then because he was really down and broke, and it just, his Social Security, and get him on the Medicare. And then he got broke again because of all the hospital expenses. Okay, just trained him. I said, listen, get your ass over to DPSS, apply for food stamps, and get yourself your Medi-Cal card. And he finally did it.
How was he paying for the surgery?
Medicare, and then they would bill him, and they would, all he had was his Social Security check. And he's, everything went to his mother, and then there was some property, but I don't know what happened to the property, but anyways, I think he might have sold it just to have living money. And of course, Social Security doesn't go very far. And so now he's got Medi-Cal. He's getting food stamps, which means he can eat better.
Uh-huh.
And
Which can only help his health.
Yeah.
yeah. So, and I told him the other day, I said, You have gas from the gas company, get on their care program, and then get, the city of Glendale has a program for, you don't have water, but you have electric, and get on that. I said, all those savings can,
They
you know,
add up.
yeah, and he was
Right.
paying, they would cut off his phone every couple of months, because he would, you know, $65 a month for a telephone bill, for just the basic service. So now he's got, $12 to $19 a month.
Wow.
So, you know, and the idea is, he doesn't have it, so he's not on the line anymore, so, you know, he can't afford have the internet connection. So, you know, yeah, he had to move from one apartment to the other, and, the friend owns the apartment, so, he was
He's
able
getting
to.
a break.
Yeah. So, you know,
Yeah.
so, you know, that's, and, you know, it used to be, he came from Cathedral High School, and all of his buddies, you know, they were all tight-knit alumni.
Uh-huh.
And he still keeps in touch with them. And, you know, in the past, you know, this guy was head of this, and this was head of that, and Rich was, you know, with Banner, so he got involved with the unions, and, you know, to get them into the Banner help. Yeah,
But he never was a chiropractor.
never practiced. And he goes out of his way to help the bus drivers, because they're a contract group, and he'll even help them in going to court for them. He's helping one woman on a divorce now, child custody. So he's everybody's friend. And I said, you know, you're everybody's friend, but it's about time, Richard. And he said, well, yeah, some of them are really helping out, and, you know, they'll take me places when I need to do this. And
I remember when I was running for city council, he said, I'd like you to meet with me and one of the bus drivers. I met with him and one of the bus drivers. I don't know what the problem was, what the issue was, but, yeah, he was like,
Wow.
and then he's taken on the city under ADA issues and Title 24 issues, and well, they hate him in the city.
That means she must be
Yeah.
knowledge.
Yeah, we also took on
Uh-huh.
the transportation system, because Richard was getting this information, so I started getting the balance of the information. We started looking at financial issues, and that's when they came knocking on his door, saying you know, the police were there because he was reported as a terrorist.
For real?
Yeah.
He said that, and I thought, oh, he was joking.
no!
And there was another guy, Steve Foster, who was going through the planning department and catching them on things. Cops knocked on his door.
Have they ever knocked on your door?
We're afraid to. I know too much.
Oh, Barry, I was going to say, they don't have jurisdiction here, though, because you live in Altadena, not in Glendale.
It's not a matter of jurisdiction. I'm in Glendale. You know, oh, they pulled me over, and oh, we found dope in your car.
Have they done that to you?
No, but I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you the story, and I can show you the lawsuit right here. A fellow by the name of Robert Eusebian, not to be confused with the former city council member Bob Eusebian. Robert Eusebian is an attorney, and his wife had taken up with a Glendale police officer. She was having an affair with him, which is pretty standard for cops in Glendale.
There's city councilmen.
Well, there's
People
stories there, but
themselves.
I'll stick on this one.
Okay.
So the wife and the cop got together with how they could frame the husband, the attorney. So
Whoa.
she called and said, "My husband's beating me up." And cops came over, and when they were, frisking him and putting him against the wall, they found narcotics. They took him to jail. Okay? And ultimately found out through his investigation that his wife was having an affair with this cop. And that all the charges were trumped up. He is now suing the police department in the city. And that's going to be a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. Now, there was another lawsuit with the city.
And he's an attorney.
Yep, but he has outside counsel. And
How did they think they were going to, especially
Yeah,
an attorney, come on?
dumb cop.
yeah, no
A
kidding.
dumb wife, too, it
Yeah.
sounds like. I mean,
There were a number of police
oh
women,
my gosh.
female police officers, who sued the city for sexual harassment, retaliation, all sorts of things. And of course, some of the testimony was one of the cops had a porn site. He owned a porn site, and he would, "Hey, come on in, let me show you my porn site. Here's the back door, here's how you look at the money I make on my porn site."
Oh my God.
Now, in addition to this, making, he was, quote, putting in overtime, charging for overtime, while he was using city computers to play with this porn site.
Yeah.
Is there a stupidity test you have to pass to be on this course?
And this guy was promoted after all of it.
After?
Yeah.
After.
Oh, yeah. The good old boy club.
Mhm.
That cost the taxpayers
Oh.
$6 million.
Did it come out publicly?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And is he still employed?
I think he just retired.
I think he did, yeah.
I think he just retired.
But he kept his job and
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
He got promoted.
so that he could have more time to spend on his website on
Oh,
Tuesday.
the police department is very pathetic.
It's so corrupt. It's just awful.
Yeah.
I mean, the women won the suit, and we got the money,
And business as usual?
and business as usual. And I met with then police chief to say, and I took with me somebody who had been working on those kind of issues for a long time at what was then the Women's Legal Center, or and what are you going to do now to clean up the? Oh, we've got him.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't done a thing.
Nothing.
Not a thing. It had no intention of doing it.
They just promoted a woman to lieutenant because she was suing them, Susan Hain, and she's still suing them. That didn't stop her suit.
And they thought it would.
Yeah. And there are, what they've been doing to retaliate against officers that are suing them, they're putting them on administrative leave with pay. One of them that I know is back on the street. They said that because there was a death in his family, his 3-year-old nephew was killed in a car accident, that they were putting him on administrative leave. This was testimony in a deposition. He was put on administrative leave before his nephew was killed. Right? Then they sent him to the psychologist, okay, for a psych evaluation. And the psychologist letter that they produced said he should be relieved of duty and his gun taken away. Under the deposition of the psychologist shown the letter and says, I've never seen that letter. I never sent that letter.
What?
And he says, if you check the calendar, that letter is dated the day before the appointment.
Oh
I mean,
my
they can't even fuck up properly.
Oh my gosh. What's the judge say to this? I mean, are they...
Well, this is the deposition. Now, this is an ongoing case right now. And,
Okay, so it hasn't been settled yet,
the
or decided.
city is asking for summary judgment in January, which will give way to finally having the lawsuit. These are 5 Armenian officers that are suing for retaliation, for refusal, for promotions, a number of things. One of them has been put on leave, administrative leave, since this January. So now, what
Because
administrative...
he complained, or brought this suit.
Well, they haven't told him why he's on administrative leave.
There's not required, I mean...
It's mind-boggling, isn't it?
But get this, he's on full pay, right? He has to be available at home, right? He gets his vacation pay. He gets, he's accumulating vacation days, sick days, everything else. He would get a salary, he's a sergeant, he's probably getting a base of $125, $130 a year. So you double that for what the burden is. It's costing the taxpayers $250,000 for him to stay home. So as long as they're screwing people, they might as well get the taxpayers.
It's just awful.
Is this throughout the whole city government in
Yeah, they're all the same.
Is every other city the same, do you
They're all
think?
the same. We're just on Bruce Philpott.
It's all a matter of degree.
Yeah, the bigger they are, the more the problems they have. Look at the city of Bell. These,
Oh, I used to see kids in Bell.
Really?
these are all of the cover pages of the 100 lawsuits that the city is involved in right now.
Just the cover pages.
Oh my God, this is Glendale?
Yeah.
Just Glendale.
Just about messed up.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. No wonder Washington D.C. is the mess that it is. If cities are this bad, that is just
Yeah.
multiplied.
And it's interesting, Bruce, you met Bruce.
Uh-huh.
He
At
was
Mary's
over,
party.
right, yeah, so he was over last night? Yeah, last night. And something he said that was very interesting is that there's been a study that's shown that, and I think this is at the federal level, that if you go into office, you're going to come out wealthier than what you went in.
Yeah.
Without exception. And it's like,
Oh my gosh, that's scary.
isn't that scary? What,
That is positively frightening.
Well, we watch it in Glendale.
yeah,
Larry
Yeah.
Zarian.
yeah, this guy who, just a charming guy.
And by the way, he
He
was
was-
a wife beater.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, you knew that, okay.
Yeah. He was mayor for 16, on the count, 16 years in Glendale. He went in, he didn't have a piss in. And he came out, he just died, he was worth like
$24 million.
$24 million.
He was what's known as a 10%er. Okay? He sat on the MTA, he sat in Glendale as a council member. He was on the governor's Transportation Commission. So when you're sitting there in closed session, oh, we're going to go build this over here, so we're going to start acquiring land. This is about 10 years down. We're going to start, that. These are the things we're doing. So he's a 10%er. So he calls up a friend and says, we got to sit down and talk. Bring your checkbook. So they talk about it, right? Here's where the deal is. I get 10%. Now, when you look at LLCs, you open up an LLC, nobody knows who the members are. Right? Larry did very well. He got caught up in a couple of lawsuits because he was a member and that LLC got sued for one of the apartment complexes. But just the straight land deals, he made money on the Hollywood train station. In fact, he died, and they had all these memorial services. They named the train station after him, and so people said, "Why didn't you go to him?" I said, "Listen, the guy was a crook. Why should I go honor a crook?"
That's right. I mean, I was on his
Well, yeah,
TV.
but he was a good crook.
Yeah, he was our crook.
Our crook.
He had a TV show for years and years, and I was on his show several times. And it was like, yeah, I'll go on your show, because, it's good for me. And he was very charming.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, oh dear.
He didn't need to worry about a couple of lawsuits. He had $24 million
That's
in
right.
the bank to cover him. And he
Yeah.
probably knew there was more where that came from.
Oh, of course.
It would just keep rolling in.
By the way, I was also on his television shows, and he was told occasionally to get me on to nail me on something. Okay? It was great. And because, I have no fear of television and that stuff. And so Larry would start asking me some questions. I said, I said, if you want to get into that stuff, Larry, do you think the people know about your deal with such and such and how you did this? And let's take a break now. And he says, I said, do you want to continue that? He says, no, let's go on to some important stuff having to do with the city.
Oh my gosh.
So Larry and I got along very well. He knew that he hasn't tried to put me in a corner.
Larry, you're a courageous man.
Yeah, indeed.
You have a lot of guts.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Now, what are they going to do? Kill me? Beat me up?
Yeah, I was concerned of
Yeah, I don't know how much. I think it depends on what you know. Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, I started the investigation in Glendale relative to the ADI and the crooked council member, and he's no longer in office. Another council member, he got a $9,000 fine because of complaints we filed.
I know that people like you can make a difference, because my sister and her husband, Ellen went to law school, and she took the California bar, and I think she took it twice. The first time she didn't, the night before, her boyfriend at the time was in some legal trouble, and she ignored her studies and went to help him, which was
Too bad.
really too bad. So she didn't do that badly, even not studying up and preparing the night before, like she needed to. Whatever she needed to do, she didn't do it because she was involved with him. Then she dumped him or whatever. That relationship was defunct, so that was a good thing. And she took it a second time and missed by 1 point.
Hmm.
So she is a sharp woman. And she decided at that point that she really wasn't up for doing it again, and she kind of changed her mind. But she's a very brilliant woman, not necessarily functional, but very bright. And she was doing advocacy for people who had been, she's working for an agency that puts her in mental hospitals in the East Bay in Northern California. And there was one, she would rotate through different ones, and when people were committed, there was, 72 hours, I think, a hold, and then they had a hearing. And they had to go before someone in the hospital. There was, I guess, a judge in the hospital, and her job was to help these people present their case. And the ones who wanted to leave, to help them get out. So she spent her work days in a mental hospital, and it was challenging, dangerous, not always rewarding. I don't know what her pay was, not very much. And she had this terrific background for it, and she was really good. And she found out so much in that hospital about what was going on. It was through the county, and they had a contract, and certain patients went to them, and she spent so much time there. She learned, like, she probably knew stuff like you know about Glendale Berry. And she, and with the help of her husband, who is a longtime activist, were the lead people. It took several years, but that hospital was actually closed down permanently. So a lot of people didn't like that, needless to say.
Right.
They were, at one point, Terry was very involved with, he still is, with people in Oakland, primarily Oakland, now San Francisco too, the Bay Area, who are homeless. And he works for American Friends, and for many years he's published a newspaper, and he's on the street with people. It's called Street Spirit, and American Friends publishes the paper, and he works.
Oh, I know that paper.
You know Street Spirit?
Yeah, from when I used to work up there. The homeless were handed out.
And they sell it for $1 a copy,
Right.
and they keep, and then they keep the money from selling it. That's his paper. He's founded it and has been the editor for years and years and years. And he works in collaboration with the homeless, and they write articles, and it's not just him anymore. It started out mostly him, and now he's got lots of people who submit articles, but he's still the editor. And I think even before, they've been married probably 25 years, and he had been jailed, spent a lot of time in jail for all kinds of reasons, standing up. And he wrote a grant. There was a multi-million-dollar grant in the city of Oakland, and a facility was built for people who are homeless to stay there. They averaged about 6 months. And when they left, they had social services, they had child care, they had classes, they helped people get training to be employed. So when they left there, they had an apartment or a home to go to, they had a job, and enough skills to stay, sustain themselves. And so he did that, and together they closed that hospital. So one person can make a difference.
Absolutely.
And they actually had to move out of Oakland because he went up against the mayor. Talk about corrupt city, Barry.
Oakland's one of the, yeah.
And there were lots of, I believe they were federal buildings that were empty, and there were so many homeless people. That city has always had big problems.
Yes.
And a lot of corruption, and it's a pretty, unless you're rich, it's not a good place to be poor.
Jerry
And-
Brown did a good job of it, didn't he?
I think when he was mayor, he probably
Yeah.
did. But that was, and going back, like in the 60s, the Black Panther Party started in Oakland, and it wasn't by accident.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it was so scary.
right.
But Terry, there was Elihu, I don't know if Elihu was his last name or his first name, but he was the mayor, and Terry had some big run-ins with him, and he and Ellen actually had to move out of Oakland because he was not, it really wasn't safe for him to live there. So then he was doing other things. I don't know if he was with American Friends then, but he occupied buildings, I think at the Presidio.
Wow.
That's federal property.
Yeah.
And there were empty buildings, and he, I think in many places, moved homeless people in and said, this is sitting here empty, and we've got people on the street. This is not okay. So another gutsy guy.
Good for him,
Yeah. So I commend you, Barry. You are very courageous.
Well, we have some good people working with us. I have a meeting with the community forum every Thursday morning, and we're seeing more and more people come to it. We're using technology to get the messages out.
I had this is amazing. I mean, you know that there's some bad apples in every barrel, but this sounds pretty pervasive. Is the fire department the same way?
The worst.
Oh my God!
That's so bad.
And the mayor's office and the city council?
Well, the city council, I think that at least 4 of the present ones will be going to prison, and probably
Yeah.
2 former ones.
And Glendale is such, when you drive through there, when you shop there, it seems like such a civilized city.
Yeah, but you see, when you peel back the onion, you get to the core. We just got rid of it.
schools good there?
They're not bad. I think they're better than
My
Pasadena.
director lives in Glendale, and her daughter is starting kindergarten in the fall, and she was talking about some of the different schools, and they chose one for her, and they sounded actually pretty good.
Yeah, the schools aren't bad.
Now, it's
In spite
not,
of
it's
the
not
rest
the
of
teachers, it's the administration.
Right.
All right, I told Paulina about something that just came up the other day. They had a security contract that was changed from somebody that I know just because they wanted to change it and pass it out. They gave it to another company that started factoring the invoices. Do you understand factoring?
No.
It's selling your invoices to someone else who's going to give you, let's say, 90% of it. So if I invoice somebody for $100,000 and they're not going to pay me for 60 days, I need that money. So the
Why
factor,
wouldn't the city handle?
well, because the city, the school board.
Oh, this is the school. Okay.
Yeah. So what happened was that when you're dealing with the lowest bidder, 10% is a very high number.
Yeah.
That's all their profit. So they go out of business. So they had a clause in the contract, 2 clauses. One that said, A, they could assign the contract, which they did, they assigned that part of it, or they could sell the company as an assignment. So they sold the company. Okay? They sold the company to another company that just got licensed 10 days before. So the company notified the school board or the school administration that there's a new company that's taking over as of this date, and to handle the billings and everything. Well, the school administration did not change the billing information. So they continued to pay the factor. They paid the factor $107,000. And then they realized when the new contractor came in and said, "You haven't paid us." So, yes, we have. That's not us. So they sued the schools. And they got a judgment for $107,000 plus attorney fees and whatever, right?
Meantime, the bus company went bankrupt. So basically, the school district paid twice.
Now, they're going out on bid, and I talked to them and I said, that's my old industry. When you get a company that you're paying so little to that they factor it, they're going to go out of business.
Oh my gosh, Barry.
It's so easy.
Oh my gosh. This is insane.
Isn't it? Isn't it?
And then there are those of us who work our tushes off.
That's right.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. You're going to retire, right? You get a retirement. Besides your Social Security? You get-
Something, yeah.
All right.
I have a 401k, which is, I don't think it's very big.
Okay, now, if you were a fireman in any of these areas through here, you would work 100 days a year, 24 hours a day. Of that 24 hours a day, you can sleep 8 hours, which means you actually work 66 days a year. Okay?
This is
Now-
sounding pretty good.
Now, you're going to get, with your benefits and everything else, $150,000 a year.
I could manage on that.
Now, when you retire,
Wow.
you're going to get 90% of your highest pay.
Oh my God.
Okay, but you had to work 30 years. 90% of your highest pay. Now, that ain't all. All right? You're going to retire with an injury, a disability.
Oh.
I have smoke inhalation. Oh, good, that counts. Only 50% of that $150,000 is going to be taxed. So you get $75,000 tax-free. Now, that ain't all. You're going to get between a 3 and 5% cost of living adjustment every year.
How much?
3 to 5%. Okay, now that ain't all. You're going to get retiree health care benefits until Social Security or Medicare picks it up.
Could I hire whoever negotiated that contract?
Well, that's exactly what we say. Exactly.
I want one of those.
Isn't that great? But just think, the cities went broke because the city councils passed that type of legislation.
Why?
Good question.
Well, because we have to get the best people. And if we don't
And
get,
what?
if we don't raise our scale higher than Burbank, they're going to get the best people.
Don't cities talk to each other?
Don't they what?
Yeah, but see, they all use that same line.
Yeah.
We have to pay our people top salary to be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
They all use the same
It's a
line.
mantra.
Yeah. Makes me want to throw up every time I hear it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. There's no...
These are our first responders. Look what happened in New York. 300 of them were killed.
Yeah. See, the fire in particular, we can't, it's almost impossible to touch.
Like a sacred cow.
They
Everybody's
are.
hero.
Everybody's hero. They go into burning buildings and save babies.
But guess what? There are no burning buildings anymore. They're sprinklered, they're built with non-combustible
If you
materials.
look at the most dangerous jobs to have, fire is like
It's not
way
even
down on the list,
Really?
near the bottom.
What's up at the top?
manufacturing,
linemen.
linemen,
Mining?
cat fisheries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mining's there, but, yeah, it's just regular kind of jobs.
Yeah, private sector jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you, and by the way, statistically, and we have done this with Bruce Philpott, we've looked at more than one city, but statistically, let's say in Glendale, they'll get 14,000 calls for service a year. Of that number, 12,000 are medical emergency.
I was going to say the paramedics.
Right.
And 2,000, of the 2,000 calls, 93% are false alarms.
So they're not putting out a lot of fires.
There are no fires to put out.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that amazing?
So, we have it now. Glendale is doing away with their
Ripping it
paramedics in the RAs, the rescue ambulances. They're going to be no longer advanced life support. And as Chief Scoggins would say, we have 9 fire engines, 9 engines, each of them with 2 paramedics. So isn't 9 better than 5? Yeah, but those 5 are transporting. And what happens with the 9, when they get to a scene and it requires an ambulance, they have to have one of their basic life support ambulances come by. And then they have to take the 2 paramedics off that engine and put them in there to take them to the hospital. Meanwhile, the engine has to go to the hospital because it's only got 2 people. And they can't go out without 4. So instead of tying that engine up for 15 minutes, they're now tying it up for an hour.
And having heard all those numbers, they wanted to build another fire station for $25 million. And Barry got them not to do it.
We blew the
State,
whistle.
State Glendale, $25 million.
Oh
to
my
take that home.
So, this is stuff that just goes on. And that's why we're getting more people. We have somebody that comes to our meeting every Thursday from the city of Bell. He comes in and he says, thank you so much for coming to Bell and helping us out. And I was there, and Herbert Milano and Richard Spiritu. We've all helped out the people in the city of Bell.
Wow, they needed Barry. When I used to go there, oh my gosh, I could not wait to get out.
Really?
I would be in and out. And I just felt badly for the people who had to stay there. Bell Gardens, Compton.
Mm-hmm.
That Compton is another one, isn't it,
Oh,
Barry?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Cudahy, Maywood.
Yeah.
Vernon.
That
I just,
Compton is a godforsaken city.
yeah.
It is just...
And corrupt as things.
In Temple City, you have a lot of people who've gone to prison. You know what they did?
From Temple City?
Oh yeah, the mayor.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. Barry, are you writing a book?
The book is written. I just want one page in it. In Bellflower, several years ago, it seems as if one of the mayor decided, mayor, she decided she wanted to be the city manager. Now,
Was the mayor not paid?
Bill Flower, most of them are, they're minimal pay.
But a city manager is paid a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
she wanted to be the city manager. But like many other charter cities, there's a clause that says you cannot go from an elected position to a hired position unless you have a year's,
In between.
Okay. Don't you also have to be qualified for the position?
Oh, that too, yeah.
So,
Was she
the
qualified?
city attorney thought she was well qualified. So what he did was he wrote an ordinance, and the city council voted on it to waive the 1-year restriction. Okay?
So she could go right into it.
So then she walked out of the room, and the board, the council, and the city attorney discussed hiring her. He went out and talked to her about the money she would get, the contract, signed, sealed, delivered. Well,
No search,
criminal
no.
charges were brought against her for conflict of interest because she apparently had voted on her. So it went to the Supreme Court. It went to the Supreme Court, and
Sorry.
the lower court, because she came up with the estoppel by entrapment, and her claim was she relied on the city attorney, his advice. And this appellate court said, you know, the city attorney is not a law enforcement officer. All he did was give her advice, wrong as it may be, but he gave her advice. And she relied on it, tough shit. So,
And what was the...
the Supreme Court says we uphold the appellate court, and she can be convicted now.
And was she?
I haven't followed it up, but I do believe I had heard about her conviction.
Does that mean she's going to go to jail?
Oh, this happened several years ago.
So is she...
Yeah, she's probably Chacon. I didn't follow it up. Her name is Sirocco or Chacon.
Oh, there.
But the
This is
Temple City.
mind-boggling.
Temple. I'm trying to remember what she got.
Temple City.
Yeah,
You
Temple.
always, I think of Temple City as being kind of a quiet city.
Let's see.
Quietly corrupting. Oh my gosh. This is just mind-boggling. And it went all the way to the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
Yeah. She got 4 years in state prison.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Her name was Kathy Wilson. And she was just sentenced this year. The investigation took 4 years too.
Barry, so now she has to go.
She's gone.
Pauline, I should go home.
Former,
I'm gonna be tired. Can
Former-
you get a whole party?
former Temple City mayor sentenced to 4 years in state prison. Kathy Wilson collapses in court. Paramedics were called. Okay?
Did the fire engine come too?
I mean, you know, these people think they can get away with it. It's like,
Yeah.
what are they
4 years
thinking?
on bribery and perjury charges, closing the books on a dramatic couple of years in Temple City history. The prosecutors depicted Wilson as a ringleader in the city's largest corruption case and said she should not be spared prison. How's that?
Whoa. I mean, she had been mayor, and then she's trying to put herself in the city manager. She knew. Cool.
Yeah, she torpedoed a $75 million project that would have greatly benefited the residents. She said that, and by the way, she's 78 years old.
Oh my word, 78?
78? Now will she get out of it because of her age, or she'll have a medical condition or something?
Well, she was convicted of receiving about $10,000 in
You
cash
can't make this stuff up, can you?
in other bribes in 2005 and 6, and then lied about it.
Bribes?
Yeah, she was getting bribes to pass legislation that would benefit her friends. That's okay.
Gosh, how do these people, well, probably they think they can get away with it because apparently a lot of them have and do and continue to. Oh my gosh.
There was at least one council member in the city of Glendale who was getting a weekly stipend from ADI, the Affordable Housing Developer, that the city contracted with. He was getting between $5,000 and $10,000 a week in cash.
A
An envelope.
week?
Huh? But it's okay. The taxpayers are picking up the difference. They overcharge on building the construction, and they pumped up the invoices to cover the money that they were giving to the council. Then they gave another council member, they did a renovation on this $124,000 condominium. They put in $300,000. I'd show you all the pictures and stuff, but I gave it to the news press, Brittany Levine, yesterday, so that she would have it.
You know, the funniest thing with this thing with the condo, he had all these pictures blown up, right, on cars.
4 foot by 3 foot.
Yeah. And he took them to city council. And he took Adrian with him.
Set up an easel.
You know, and to change them. So people referred to Barry as, would say to Barry, oh, so you didn't bring your bodyguard this week? You know, Adrian's so big.
He was taking the signs and
Oh,
and I was concentrating on talking.
And obviously they didn't know who Adrian was.
Yes.
You know.
Oh, how fun. You must have had a delightful time doing that.
I did that for 5 Tuesdays in March, and the election was April.
Oh, Barry.
Guy didn't get reelected. Yeah, it worked. Yes.
And, by the way, we had turned, I turned my
Wow.
file over to the FBI in October. Prior to that, we had developed this whole case from an insider and provided the FBI with all of the subcontractors that worked on the case, all of the makeup of the pictures and everything that we did. And there are so many people that are complicit in this that there will probably be a number of people, and there will be those others
Take time.
that will be, for instance, the maintenance manager. You know, they're going to sit down with him because he lied to us, and just say, well, there's an obstruction of justice charge. Here's what we want to know from you. And that's what they're going to be doing. They interviewed every one of
Was
us.
he paid to lie to you? Or do you know?
I don't know. But he lied to me and Bruce, because Bruce and I went there and did the interview. And the other people, the homeowners association people, were just scared out of their minds. Because they had also broken the law. What they had done, because the city council member lived in the building and was doing all this work on his place in 2010, they all decided that we'd take advantage of tax credits by replacing their old windows with vinyl triple pane windows. Now, in order to do vinyl in Glendale, it has to go through design review. It has to meet all of this criteria. None of these people took out a building permit. So do you think they were going to be scared? Damn right.
Did they know that they needed to?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
they did.
But the city councilman lived
He
there,
lived
so
there, and he was
didn't
breaking
have
the law
one.
too. There was no building permit up on his $300,000 renovation.
So now are all those people going to get mail? Or are they going to...
Well, it's, not the FBI, they don't care. The city from the building department certainly should be looking at it.
Yeah.
Oh my my gosh, so they thought they were just gonna ride his coattails.
Yeah.
But if he could do it, he's their neighbor, why can't we do it too? Knowingly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my mind is totally boggled. I had no idea. Pauline, can I ask you something? This
Yeah.
makes me think about when you ran for city council
Uh-huh.
in Glendale.
Yeah.
Were there forces at work who knew that you would be someone who would speak up, who fought against your election?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely.
They had, how
That's
many
what I
women run
think,
against you?
especially because people in the know would
Yeah,
know
because
that.
they saw what I was able to do in getting the Women's Commission going. So they were scared. It's like, this woman comes from nowhere, does this, and did it all right, and did it all wonderfully, and even got funding and everything, when, we never give funding to anything, and, have the media there, and blah, 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 blah. And,
She's not going to play alone.
No.
We're not going to have
Uh-uh.
a team player here for our team.
no, so we need to cut her off at the knees. And so there were 5 women running. So me and 4 other women.
And I mean, some of these women didn't even know where City Hall was.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, in former elections, how many women had been running? Like,
Up until that point, in the city's history, which was like 98 years, I think, at that point, there had been 4 women on city council.
oh my God.
And now there were 5 of us running.
You and 4 that, 1 for each. How many city council members are there? 1 for each.
Yeah.
Well, you see, there was an extra seat, Gus Gomez's seat.
Yeah, because usually there would have been 3 seats.
Either 3 or
open.
2, 3 or 2.
Yeah, and that time there were 3. But then another city councilman had taken a job as a judge. So